What do we got other than the echoes of Leslie Gore? It's my party. I can cry if I want to. That seems to be the theme of what the NBA is transitioning to now that it's the off season. We cry because small market teams were in the NBA finals. We cry when a small market team wins the NBA finals because a small market star got hurt. Now we're crying because, well, no one wants to watch the NBA draft. Well, guess what, folks? I've seen the NBA draft. They're right. No one wants to watch this. Round one was absolutely atrocious. But now we're getting to this part of the season where the draft is almost done. And now we're starting to hear from fan bases, especially Nets fans, who are crying why they wasted 5 first round picks and 4 of them on guards who can't shoot out themselves out of a wet paper bag. But you know what, NBA? It's fine. We all know what's going on. We've seen throughout the whole season and even in the playoffs what this league surrounds itself around. And it's around clicks and cries, which is the same reason why you continue to fund the WNBA. There's absolutely no reason this league should exist either, but yet it still does. And then you have announcers calling WNBA games apologizing because they called America great. What kind of a league are you trying to run? If you are trying to make it interesting, you're either trying too hard or missing the mark completely. If you want it to be sad and you want no one to watch it until the end of March, early April every year, keep doing what you're doing because even then, it's still going to be hard to watch when your big market teams maybe don't make the finals. Guys, it's Friday Junior, and this the weekend before the long weekend. This is Box Scores and Bourbon. All right, Manny.
All
Before
right,
we start
JB.
crying, because it's our party,
It's my
well,
party. It's my party.
let's say
Cheers.
cheers.
It's my party. I will cry if I want to because the NBA season is over and we wanted it to be. How did you like the finals? We have a new NBA champion that hasn't lifted the what do they call it now? It's not the they changed the name of the trophies. I forget what they changed it to, but OKC is the champion. How did you like game 7? How did you like the finals as a whole?
Um, I didn't mind it. Uh I watched Game Seven, and the only thing I could think about was how great it would be for Oklahoma City to win, and they should have won that game. But they should have won that series even with a healthy Halliburton. It should not have taken Tyrese to go down in order for this team to win the 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 final. Um, and so I walked away not sad that Tyrese that let me phrase this. I wasn't sad that OKC didn't get to finish the series with a healthy Halliburton on the court. I was more disappointed in OKC's performance overall.
Hmm.
This was the best team in the NBA, and they
Yeah.
came across a squad that was uh, obviously very good with the comeback, very upbeat and high paced, high rhythm. You know, being able to draw their opponent into making a mistake. But OKC was better than that. I mean, when you have arguably the best defense in the league all season, and you go on to win just shy of 70 games. Yeah, I mean, this is, it is disappointing that it took that long. Kudos to Indiana. Kudos to TJ McConnell for carrying Indiana so far as he did in that game 7.
Yeah.
Uh, I was starting to wonder, when is this guy going to get tired? He only gets like 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So but he's got to
The whole
play the whole game.
It was definitely a change of pace. I was curious to see if they would like kind of try
Mhm.
keeping him in a rotation and keep him fresh, but no, they let him be the Halliburton replacement the entire game. And he did pretty admirable for the situation he was in. Did you see that? Like, what did he end up getting? 21 points. He didn't shoot a single three in that entire game.
He didn't.
No, not one.
I mean, I saw him driving a lot, so that makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
he's
I
like a little. Yeah, I already gave my praise to him for the way that he plays basketball. I love the way he plays basketball for such a
Yeah.
small figure that he drives to the paint and drives to the basket so often. It's pretty nice to see. I don't think OKC cares that it took 7 games to win the championship. I mean, at the end of the day, what you care about is the fact that you are champions. But there is something to say about the way that they played Game 7
Mm-hmm.
and how that should have really been the status quo for the way that they should have played all series long. It seemed to me like they would take their foot off the pedal whenever they felt comfortable. And we talked about this a few times throughout the entire series. Like you don't have the luxury of taking your foot off the pedal when you had Indiana on the other side, and just it felt like whenever were in a comfortable position, they would get relaxed. And even with Game 6, they knew they had to win one of the next 2 games to win the championship. And Game 6 really was one. It was messy. There was turnovers. There was people on the floor nonstop during the first half. It was just like a messy game overall. And then they got blown out of the water by Indiana to force a Game 7. That was where I had an issue with the way that they were playing, because it didn't it regularly didn't seem like they were fully ready or committed to what was in front of them in each game. Like they took they took each game, I guess individually, they took it in a vacuum, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like not really in a vacuum for where they were saying, well, it's just one game, we're gonna give it 100%. They were just It was just like, how are we feeling that day? Like, oh, we have like a lot, we have some like room to spare. We can afford to lose Game 6. So to me, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of effort. I was very disillusioned with the way Game 6 played out. And then Game 7 came around, and when Halliburton went down, like they realized we can completely obliterate this team, which they could have done the entire series. They had
Yeah.
the firepower to obliterate the Pacers every single one of those games, and they proved it multiple times. Besides Game 6, they constantly had like a double digit lead in every single one of those games. Once Game 7 came around and they Halliburton was no longer the beating heart of the Pacers, they just like went 120%, like pedal to the metal, and just completely ran away with that game. Once the 5 minutes left in that first quarter, they kept scoring, and they didn't look back. And that was what I thought OKC was capable of the entire time, and it just seemed like they weren't really
Mm-hmm.
wanting to do that every single game for whatever reason. Maybe they wanted, I don't know if they wanted to make sure they paced themselves in case they needed 7 games, but it just felt like,
Yeah.
if we know you have that capability, we know the type of team that you were all regular season and throughout the playoffs. Why not do that in the finals and wrap up the series way earlier than what they did, which was obviously at the brink, Game 7.
Yeah. That's what made it so disappointing. Is you could see how well, because essentially Indiana played its best basketball when it was down.
Yeah.
And then once they started to take off, then there was no looking back. Especially, what was that, Game 6, where it was just absolute
It was
trash.
I
That
hated that
that
game. It
was such
was
a trash
awful.
heap of a basketball game.
Yeah.
And then, but OKC, like I said, all season, best defense in the league. You have the best record. You get 68 wins. That's nothing to sneeze at. It's incredibly difficult to do, even against bad teams, because you
Hmm.
have off nights. But to be more on than you are off all season, and then you carry that over into the playoffs, and then all of a sudden it stops,
Yeah.
and you're just, I don't know if they were tired. I don't know if it was just it can't be a lack of motivation. You're in the finals. This is it. I mean, if you're
No.
tired, you can take a nap when you're dead. Like, you like, just play now.
Hmm.
And but it just really seemed as if OKC really just lost themselves in this.
They
And
would situationally lose themselves.
it was so bizarre, because even there were multiple times OKC was up by double digits, even in Game 7, it looked like Indiana was going to come back again.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I mean, it was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
What is going on? They are letting TJ McConnell and Pascal Siakam just play all kinds of games with them. And, and then it takes Alex Caruso, of course, Alex Caruso, to wake this team up with his flash worthy defensive play.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, oh, I remember this is game 7, right? Okay, so we're done after this. Okay, we'll finish it out.
Yeah. How do you? Let's talk about Halliburton a little bit. How do you feel? It's about his injury, and I'm not saying like, are you glad about his injury? I'm saying, how do you feel about the fact that he was on the court with a calf strain that ultimately led to his Achilles?
Well, I mean, wasn't this the same as what KD in that finals in Golden State when he came back early and
Yeah.
then he had to leave because he
Yeah,
got
he was
hurt
out for
again?
a whole year because he tore his Achilles
Yeah,
the last game of the season.
yeah. So it was. Look, I'll say this: I applaud the young man. I applaud him for trying to play through it. I get it. You're out there. You're trying to will your team to a victory.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going down that hard that quickly at the beginning of the game, you probably had no business being out there.
Yeah.
And because not only are you were you out the rest of the game, you're out all next season. And whatever chances you thought Indiana had next season to make us to make what a third trip to the Eastern Conference Finals,
Mm-hmm.
those are probably lost.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the fact that it happened the way that it did. It was heartbreaking because I didn't think he had any business playing game 7. I know that the passion for wanting to win wins over everything else. Like they're a player, if you ask them if you want to play, they're always going to say, yes, I want to play even if I'm hurt.
Yeah.
But the you had the prior history that you were hinting at to know that it was a very bad idea
Mhm.
with the calf strain to be forcing your calves and your Achilles to do those type of motions. KD, same exact story.
Well,
Calf
they brought
strain,
that up all pregame.
yeah,
That was all they talked about all
and it
pregame.
lasted what? His calf held on for a total of 4 minutes before his Achilles gave
Mhm.
out, and you can like
Yeah.
seeing the type of movement that he was doing, like you could just tell like that kind of, if that's what your body is required to
Mhm.
do in basketball, which is
Yeah.
like change of directions and pushing off that back foot. If
Yeah.
your calf is not at 100%, it's gonna give up. KD had
Yeah.
that same exact situation, game 6, I think, of the Warriors finals.
Mhm.
He also had that same evidence of when Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles uh, at the beginning of the season for the Jets. It it went unreported as much, but Aaron Rodgers had sprained his calf during preseason, during off-season workouts, doing like some sled pulls or something like that. So he was going into that game with the calf strain, and it led to his Achilles getting torn. I get you want to play, but now you don't get to play. You missed out on one game, and I get you missed out on the championship, but now you have to miss out on a whole season. And not only that, but you have to as much as we want to say like players are super freak athletes and they should be able to play as much as they do, like at the end of the day, you should probably prioritize your body. That is not
Yeah.
an easy injury. And if you're that close to like a major injury that's going to require surgery and have you recovering for a whole year on a good note, a whole year recovery, prioritize your body and don't go out there. Like your team will understand in that situation. Like, dude, I can't, you want me to be out for all next year? Like, I know you guys got this. Like, go win the game, and I'll be here on the sideline. But now he's gonna be on the sideline for a whole calendar year. It just blows. It sucks for him. But
Yeah.
like I said, I could tell that to him if I had him face to face before the game, and he would still say, "I'm still playing because it's Game 7 of the finals, and I want
Yeah.
to win a championship."
Yeah. It's one of those things where, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you decide not to play because you don't want to hurt the team's chances for next season, they can say, well, how incredibly selfish of you to look at trying to play a whole season when we can win this whole thing right now. But now that he played, now the whole narrative is, oh, it's so sad. What if he hadn't played?
Yeah.
What if he hadn't played? And, I mean, you could look at it and say, maybe they have a little bit of a better chance if he doesn't play that game, because then whatever rotation you want to put out there can actually be just even more fresh together,
Mm-hmm.
or more, and kind of just develop the whole pace of the game, because he was out so quickly. And
Yeah.
you could tell how gingerly that calf was, because the move he made was nothing that was out of the ordinary. No
No.
one touched him. He stopped, and well, no, he was resetting his feet to drive.
Yeah, he was
And
pushing off the drive.
yeah, and then but which he does all the time. There was nothing abnormal about the movement he was making,
Mm-hmm.
and he just fell, which looked a lot like, what was it? Was it game 4 or game 5 that he first went down with it?
I think it's
Where
5.
Yeah, and he fell the exact same way. He had the exact same reaction from when it happened 2 games prior to what had happened in game 7. He's just on the floor, wincing, pounding the floor. And you can applaud him, for wanting to go out there, to pull the Jack Youngblood, go play on a broken fibula. I get it. Great. That sounds, that's awesome. But it did come at a cost.
Yeah.
And and that cost is the entire next season.
Yeah. But speaking of next season, this is like a domino effect for the future of the Eastern Conference that is maybe not fully grasped by like the fan base. By him going down, the Eastern Conference is so wide open for a random team to come out of nowhere and make the finals. Just look at the landscape of what that Eastern Conference looks like. We haven't even dove into the free agency moves that have happened, but the Celtics are already in full on blow up our salary,
Yeah.
fix our salary cap.
Yeah.
They've already traded away pieces. They're fixing that. The
Well,
Knicks,
both guys they were going to trade are already gone.
yeah,
Drew and Kristaps. I mean,
exactly.
those were
They
the
already,
first 2 pieces we thought were out of there. Now the only
Mhm.
other piece now is maybe Derek White. Maybe
Yeah.
Derek White goes.
Yep. And not only that, Tatum is also out for probably the entire year. So the Celtics, as far as I'm concerned, are not going to be in a position to really contend for the championship next year. Then the Pacers, Halliburton being out is obviously going to be a huge hamper into what the Pacers can do. So I would consider them borderline not being able to compete for a championship. And then we have the Knicks, which are still struggling to find a head coach. So we don't even know what that team's going to look like, and
Yeah.
who knows what they can put together once they bring in the coach, if they can bring in additional pieces that in my opinion, they're missing a piece or two.
Yeah.
Then we have the Cleveland, which like you can't really understand what if Cleveland is missing pieces or if they were just hurt and they have already the players that they need for next year. So that's the top 3-4 teams.
Mhm.
That leaves so much room for a team to come out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
by Halliburton going out, it's such a trickle down effect for the Eastern Conference to just be turned on its head and opening the door for any team that really wants to make a push. If it's a lightning in a bottle season, like a all in season, this is going to be the year for an Eastern Conference team to kind of push
Mhm.
that for that.
Yeah. Let's you brought up a good point. And so let's look at the standings of the Eastern Conference, and let's see if it's not Boston, Indiana, the Knicks, or the Cavs, which I would say out of those 4 teams, the Knicks and the Cavs have the best chance to finish number 1 in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see
So
here.
we had the Cavaliers, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Pacers, and then the Bucks were 5 and the Pistons were 6. This would be talking about a team that having a great opportunity to skyrocket into the conference finals. The Pistons would be a good team for them to take advantage of the Eastern Conference this year. The Bucks, we don't even know if Giannis is going to be there, but throughout the entire year. So but we have already knocked out the top 5 teams right there. We have the Pistons, the Magic, the Heat, the Hawks, and the Bulls to round out the
Mhm.
top 10.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. Cleveland, uh, Cleveland's not going to change much. It's just if they even rebound from the massive flop that they performed in the playoffs this year. I mean, they
Yeah,
absolutely fell flat on their face. And I get it. They had guys hurt. They had key pieces that were out at various times during that series was against the Knicks. So, you know, you know, and that happens. The Knicks, I would say, are um, no, it was Indiana who beat Cleveland. That's right. And
yep.
so, but the Knicks, depending on who their head coach is going to be, Boston I see is the most interesting. Well, one of the most because what's the one storyline and one narrative that we've been talking about for the last 4 years in Boston is
Probably that
Jason.
the team that Jalen Brown needs to be
Yes.
the lead of that
What
team.
would this team look like and how would it operate? What would success in Boston look like if Jalen Brown
Yep.
was running the show in the Garden? What would that look like? What would that look like for that team? And I I find that very interesting. I know there's
Sure.
people out there calling for Boston to sell high on Jalen Brown just to be able to get rid of his contract. No, Boston is in such a unique situation that not Jason Tatum went down, but he was your 1A. Your 1B is still there and still very healthy and still very ready to compete and contribute to help this squad win.
Hmm.
That I'm very interested in that. The other part of this of this Halliburton out, no Knicks head coach, Tatum out. What's Cleveland going to do? Does Milwaukee consider keeping Giannis if there's a chance that they can actually get to the finals? I'm not saying them the winning the entire thing, but if I'm Milwaukee and I'm sitting up there in my executive suite and I'm looking at my roster, yeah, it's expensive. Yeah, we're a small market team. Yeah, we have expended more money than God has allowed us to have. But what if we keep Giannis? What if we keep him for one more year?
I mean, they
What?
want to keep him. It ultimately comes down to Giannis. Maybe he looks at the same picture and says, "You know what? My best chance of winning is with the
Yeah,
Bucks now because I know the
yeah,
organization. I know what
yeah,
how this team is built." But
yeah,
if all it requires is for him to say, "Yeah, no, I don't want to do
mhm,
this. I want to go compete somewhere else," and
yeah.
then they're out of luck.
I think it's very telling, though. We're at the end of the NBA draft. Round two is about to wrap up. KD's been moved.
Yeah,
The Pelicans have made their moves. Um, the Celtics have made their moves. Um, Yet Giannis still wasn't traded,
yeah. Because
and we
at
if
last I heard, he said, "I don't want to be traded."
yeah. I mean, ultimately, I mean that's going to come to a discussion, obviously
Mhm.
between player and and management to figure out okay what's the best way forward for for the organization. Which if you're a player, it's like, well, I mean, why would I want to try to make your team better if I'm out of the door? It doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah,
let's not talk about how we can make the team better because I'm not going to be here.
right.
So um, I do think it's interesting. So I honestly think there's a good chance Giannis stays,
Hmm.
or maybe it's because no one he wasn't traded this year because they knew this draft was incredibly shallow. And after Cooper Flag, who was there? There was a lot of intriguing prospects like Ace Bailey and
Hmm.
Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. I mean, these are all guys that we watched play, but nothing where it's like, ooh, hey, if we got rid of Giannis and got a pick for this guy, oh, and there's absolutely no reason and no rhyme, anything why uh, Dallas would go ahead and trade for Giannis when they just
No.
traded someone who was on in uh, uh, the same trajectory as Giannis, but younger
Mm-hmm.
for someone older than Giannis. So there was no there was nothing there where Dallas was going to give up the first pick for Giannis. That wasn't going to
No, God,
happen.
no. I don't think any team in their right mind would trade the number one pick for a player like that. I get he's great, but
Yeah.
he's not the generational talent that we're seeing across the
Mhm.
NBA in the last few years. Like he's amazing, but he's not worth the first overall pick by any means. So it would have been crazy for that to even be on the table.
Yeah. But I like your take on Detroit. Let's say that that second half surge by Detroit wasn't a mirage. It wasn't a fluke.
Yeah,
Let's treat the word fluke like Kevin Malone does, and how fluke are the most common fish. And so if you're looking for a fluke, then chances are you'll find it. Maybe we'll find it in Detroit. Maybe, and then maybe next season, Detroit can pick it up again.
yeah,
Um, that's not out of the realm. I mean, this team is so incredibly young as it is.
mm-hmm.
And Cade Cunningham's still there. Cade
Yep,
Cunningham was still, really just kind of coming out of his shell there.
mm-hmm.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that this happens. And you still have Jalen, what was his, Duran. You still have Duran there at the five, and Lord knows, maybe he even takes a step forward to become, a top 10 center in the league. I don't know. In a league where it seems like people are really grasping at centers in order to stay in it, it seems like if you have a competent one or at least a top 10 one, your team's probably going to go places and sustain itself.
Yeah,
But it is going to be interesting because it's that you're not seeing that really in the Western Conference. I mean, OKC won it, so they're the favorite. Houston just got KD and didn't have to get rid of Amen Thompson.
right.
So win there. Hey, great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Do you
Okay.
like that move? Do you like the KD to Houston move? I think we talked about the potential of that being a really good
Mm-hmm.
fit for Houston if he moved. Are you satisfied with? I mean, I don't think Phoenix really won in this trade, but
Mm-hmm.
how much do you think Houston won in this trade, and how much better do you think they got?
I think they got a little bit better. I mean, especially when you look at Jalen Green being shipped to Phoenix, he was the one that kind of disappeared at the end. So, and now you get a guy, yeah, he's 37, but he's averaged 25 points a game the last 3 seasons. And he did. It's not like he faded down the stretch in Phoenix last season. I mean, he still had great numbers. And
Yep.
for you to come into a squad, you still got, um, like I said, you still got Thompson. You still got Sangan at center, who will arguably become a top 5 center, maybe a top 3 center
Mm-hmm.
by next season's end. You have pieces here that are like really like very intriguing.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at what Phoenix got in return, and it seems like they were really just trying to get rid of KD.
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes from the fact that we knew that they weren't going to keep him long term. So if you can get at least a loaf of bread and some cheese instead of getting nothing, like I'm going to prefer not to starve at that point. Like you have to get something in return, and considering you
Yeah.
knew that you weren't going to be able to keep him. But besides that, what I don't think I understand what Phoenix is doing in the grand scheme of what their team is building, and I think this falls on the new ownership that's in place. I don't think they know what they're doing with that team. They have just about zero future picks in the
Yeah.
next 3 years of drafts, and they traded away at what 2029 first round pick during the draft for like a player that you could probably not necessarily say is a good fit for what you have going on, which is a need for a rebuild. Phoenix just seems like they're playing this like wishy-washy game of we want to be good, but we don't want to. But we also need a rebuild, but we don't want to completely rebuild because we still want to stay relevant because we're Phoenix. It makes no sense to me. I mean, good for KD for getting out of there. I love his fit with Houston. I think we talked about the fact that it seemed like a really good fit for KD because Houston had already established the culture and they had the key players and they knew that they didn't necessarily need like a vocal leader. And that's exactly what Katie wants to do. He just wants to be on the court and play and lead through his play. And it just seemed like a match made in heaven. And he's on the winning end of that trade. But when we're looking at Phoenix, I mean, can you make any sense of what their trajectory is?
No, I can't. I think some of this was probably aimed at trying to shed salary, and then being able to go get. I think what they got the number 10 pick, um, which was who was that? Cayman Malik, who Rockets drafted and then sent off to the Suns as part of that deal that'll get finalized in July, and then what they got 4 second-round picks for them. And they got Dylan Brooks, they got Jalen Green. Okay, great. You got young pieces. Maybe you're able to kind of get younger. I mean, Bradley Beal, okay, he's there. Devin Booker's not getting any younger either. So being able to kind of bring in some youth, maybe try to rejuvenate while you're shedding salary and maybe make the team a little bit interesting. But
Yeah,
when I can't remember what the name of their GM is, but isn't he's a former college coach, isn't he?
I
He's a
don't remember.
he's a
Can't
former
remember.
college. I can't remember his name, but yeah,
Not too
it's
sure.
I just saw it the other day too. But I'm like, I don't understand what I mean. I'm with you. I think maybe this is Phoenix's way of trying to have a rebuild without announcing that they're rebuilding. Maybe if you can bring in some young talent that have that has some NBA court cred to their name, to pair along with Devin Booker. Okay, great. All right. That's cool. Bring in some young talent, kind of see if you can just rejuvenate this team. It kind of sounds a lot like what the Pistons were doing for a long time. But except they conceded and say, no, this is a rebuild. We're not even trying.
Yeah.
But they're just collecting young pieces to see what fits. Maybe Phoenix is doing that. I don't see a a gap in the Western Conference like I do that we do in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Phoenix was in the Eastern Conference and they were doing this, you can say, okay, yeah, that makes you worse, but all right, well then, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe
You
maybe
could make the
Jalen or
playoffs
Dylan come
probably.
in and become, the vocal leaders that they need. Devin Booker's focused on trying to eat. KD was just out there to eat. So maybe Jalen Green comes in and he turns his whole game around. He's not behind Amen Thompson anymore. He gets to maybe make his claim to be the star of this franchise. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. He's still incredibly young to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're Phoenix, the bar is not set that high. So I mean, you have the opportunity here to really grow into that persona of being the leader in the locker room, which is something that honestly Phoenix has lacked. I mean, they had Chris Paul, but Chris Paul was past his prime. So it actually helps in the NBA. It's not like an NFL quarterback. It's not like having a Matthew Stafford in your locker room where he's 37, 38 years old. But no, he's still going out there. He's still the captain of our team.
Mm-hmm.
Even in baseball, it's always the old catcher. It's the David Rosses, it's the Yadier Molinas, it's the Pudge Rodriguez's, it's the Salvador Perez's. These are the leaders. These are the aged veterans that you have on your team, and they're the leaders, they're the captains. The NBA, it's different. It's like you can have a vocal person in that locker room, but it helps if that vocal person in your locker room is also the one making all the plays on the
Mm-hmm.
court.
Yeah.
And the younger and the NBA just keeps getting younger. I mean, the Pelicans just drafted 2 18-year-olds. So are they just turned 19? Like, okay, great, awesome. And now we're just going to expect them to be all-stars by the end of next season. So the NBA is getting increasingly younger and younger and younger. And it helps if you have that young voice like Tyrese Halliburton. He hasn't hit his
Pretty
prime
young.
yet. And so, but he's the voice there. Jalen Brunson, he's still in the middle of his prime. He's out there. Jason Tatum, like having these young guys, and I guarantee it. I don't know if that's why the Lakers did it, but it'd be really hard pressed to believe they didn't bring Luca in there to maybe see if he can be the voice in the locker room for that team. I don't know if he's there to learn from LeBron, but I haven't heard Luca really stand for anything other than a second beer at a club. So but it really is something where if you look at how Phoenix is moving, I think one, this is to shed salary, and two, this is announcing a rebuild without tell me that that you're having a rebuild without telling me you're having a rebuild. That's
Yeah,
really what this seems like.
it gives those vibes, but and the cherry on top is tell me you're gonna go through a rebuild without telling me, and also show me that you don't know exactly how to go about doing a rebuild.
Yeah.
That's like the last piece of that, because that's where I'm at right now. That I think they want to rebuild, but they don't know exactly how to go about it.
Yeah.
Before we move on to baseball, you hinted about your Pelicans. So I have one question for you, because we always have to have some sort of like, homegrown fandom
Yeah.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The Pelicans traded away CJ McCollum for Jordan
Yeah.
Poole. How do you feel about that trade for the Pelicans?
I'm confused. So look, I like Jordan Poole. I think he's got that aura of when he was with Golden State, and he was the young up and comer. Maybe he was going to take Clay's place, and we remember those days. And then he went and, like a vagabond. He went and moved on. So and trading McCollum was weird. Like just the exchange of McCollum for Poole doesn't make sense for me salary wise, because McCollum was on an expiring contract. Jordan Poole's got 2 years left, and they're not cheap. So now they're going to have to pony up that. I like them trading away Olenek because it tells Missy, hey, you are the center. You are the guy we are rolling with at center next season. You are our guy. And he really, I mean, he played well for as young as he is. He played really well being thrown into the fire that way. But but defensively, I don't know how Jordan Poole fixes it. I almost said the Saints. The Pelicans needed uh, defense. They needed defense badly. And I'm not saying McCollum was the answer to those prayers or the solution to that problem, but getting Jordan Poole in return absolutely does not solve that problem. It doesn't come close to even solving the problem.
No.
And so
it makes the problem worse. I think he plays less defense.
He does. And so it's like, okay, well, what are we doing? And then they used the 7th pick last night on Jeremiah Fears. Okay, look, I loved watching Jeremiah play. I get it. He was young, and he was this dude has the ability to make high IQ plays in the NBA. He's shown that ability to be able to do that, especially in a fast-paced offense. But again, let me back up again. I like the Jeremiah Fears pick because it covers for the Dejounte Murray injury. He's coming off the Achilles injury. And so now you're trying to figure out who's going to cover for Murray while he's down. Okay, Jeremiah's there. Great. What does this do for the defense? I can't make it make sense. Make it make sense how Zion, Poole, and Jeremiah are going to be on the court together. I don't understand how they're going to make that work. I get that Joe Dumars is really going out there and just making moves. I get that. And he traded the unprotected pick for next season, which is like, I mean, hey, good on you for thinking that you're going to the playoffs next year. Awesome. Great. I'm happy you think that. That gives me a warm and fuzzy. But you traded it for a 23, and then you traded that 23, and you traded up, And then you went and got Derek Queen, which again, I don't mind Derek Queen. I think it's great for the Pelicans to invest in a dual center system. Zion's not your center. That's not going to happen. Whatever. We can just move on from that. So Zion's going to be too busy beyond the perimeter shooting threes the whole time. That's what he's going to do. And so, but if you have two young centers, especially in the league, where you look at a team like the Dallas Mavericks with Gafford and Likely, and you have those guys who can nail it down, and you can just switch them out, like the Thunder. When you have guys like Chet and Hartenstein, and you can switch them off, when and it's very helpful for the Pelicans to be able to invest in this. But again, where's the defense? I don't see how this improves your defensive liabilities.
Yeah.
You can't keep Jose Alvarado out on the floor the whole time. So
Right.
it's just like, again, make it make sense. I'll go back to Joe Dumars. I I was never not a fan of David Griffin leading this team. In fact, I was one of the ones that was very excited when he took the position 5 years ago. But Joe Dumars is there, and it's clear he's after high IQ guys who have playmaking ability, albeit really young. They have playmaking ability, and they have very high IQ. The system stuff, Willie Green will figure out later. He'll figure that out. And maybe this is just going to be a team that just blows you out of the water offensively on most nights. And you're just hoping on a wing and a prayer that some of those boards come back to the Pelicans and they can just drive it back to the other end. You're hoping. You're hoping.
Well, hopefully this is just like step one of their offseason moves plan and what they plan on doing this offseason. Because I think you're right. Like offensively, it does give you more firepower on the offensive side, but it doesn't really do anything for defense. And we saw that OKC really has a really good defensive presence, and that's what led them to a win in the championship. So the offseason is long. We still have, I don't even know when the freaking season starts at this point, but there's the offseason for NBA is long, and maybe this is just part of the bring in some defensive players in the means of trade and free agency that will kind of solidify that defensive presence for the Pelicans too. But as of right now, unless you're banking on scoring 140 every game and that's how you're going to win, you need a little bit more on the Pelicans side to make it, like you said, make it make sense.
I will say this: the mere fact that they traded their unprotected pick for next year tells me Joe is all in on Zion this next season.
Yeah.
He's all in. Because there's no way and no reason at all you trade an unprotected pick to go out and and to trade that pick up to go get a guy who's barely 19, who's absolutely not going to come on the court and just take the place of Zion, only to go out and trade Zion for another first round pick. That makes zero sense to me. So Joe Dumars, and he said it as much. They are all in on Zion and this squad, and all in on trying to bring in as many pieces as possible, because maybe Zion goes down. And I remember, look, we had McCollum, we had Brandon Ingram. I get it. They were hurt, and they had some really cold streaks. Very, very ice cold. If Zion goes down, God forbid, next season at some point, maybe you're rolling a dice that a guy like Jeremiah Fears and Jordan Poole can maybe jumpstart something on the offensive side. But then again, where's the defense? So I'm hoping there's more to come. He doesn't seem like he's stopping. It seems like he's like hell bent on just being aggressive, as aggressive as possible in order to remake this roster.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what that has to bring for the Pelicans. Let's move on to your favorite sport, JB.
NASCAR.
Baseball is full on. head full. We're almost to the All Star break, so we're in the meat and potatoes of the MLB season.
We
I want
are.
to start the MLB talk by bringing up some storylines for you, and
Yeah,
you rate it like out of 10, how much it moves the needle for you. Whether it's like a big story, it's like not a
I
big
love it. Let's
story.
do
Like,
it. Yes.
do you care? Do you not care? All right, ready?
Yes.
So
Let's go.
let's start with the Mets. The Mets have gone the last 10 are they're 2-8 on the last 10 games.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it looks like Juan Soto is finally figuring out that offense and starting to wake up his bat. How much should we be worried that Juan Soto is now going to be the only offensive firepower, or are you not worried about the Mets having a little skid and you think it's all going to work out together? Scale from 0 to 10. How much are you? How much do you care about their skid compared to Juan Soto?
I am on a scale of 1 to 10. How worried am I about the Mets skid? A 3 because I expected this to happen. If anything, I'm surprised it's happening so soon. And so the Mets are, I mean, hey, look, congratulations to the Mets for surprising me. You are slowly dying and imploding a lot quicker than I thought you would. Um, so I say a 3. Yeah.
Okay. Next storyline. The first round of the All Star voting closed, and surprise, surprise, Shohei and Aaron Judge are the leading vote getters for the
Oh,
respective
what a
leagues.
shocker. Yeah. I'm just like,
Scale
wow.
of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. Does it move the needle at all to you that Shohei once again as a DH is the leading vote getter and Aaron Judge is the leading vote getter on the other side?
Absolutely not. No. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much does it bother me? A 0. A negative a negative 2.87 is how much it bothers me. It is a great thing for players like Shohei and Aaron Judge and Aaron Judge the second year in a row getting the most votes out of anybody. Of course he does. And
Yep.
this news gets released on the same day that Shohei ties Aaron Judge for second place in homers across the major leagues. This is a great thing. There is there is nothing bad about it at all, and I can't wait. I mean, the All Star game is there to be able to see the All Stars and
Hmm.
cry as you may because Shohei's Japanese and he's not American. Okay, wonderful. Trout is American and he's never here. So, like, let's celebrate the players that are healthy and producing on a consistent basis. And look, I mean, and speaking of Trout one of the leading vote getters.
Yeah.
He's
I
played
mean, he's
he's played half
back
a
to his old
season. He's
form.
he's one of the leading vote getters. So I mean, that's a great thing because status and what you've done for the game in the game, it still matters.
Yeah.
And I I, I honestly can't wait for like I would love to see a home run derby final where it's Judge against Shohei
Oh, that'd be
or
nice.
Big Dumper against anyone. Put Big Dumper in there.
This ties into the home run derby. Acuna has announced that he's going to participate in the home run derby. How much do you care about that?
I love it. Look, Acuna's like his stats right now, and he started playing what 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
like
so it feels like
or a
it.
month ago. Like his stats are just absolutely phenomenal, and he's playing like he was never injured. Like,
Yeah,
oh guys, I'm sorry, I overslept opening day. I'm here now. Let's play
I'm good.
baseball.
I'm
Yeah,
good. I'm
I'm
good.
fine. I'm sorry. I was just a little, I was a little tired. It's okay.
You know why I love this? Because it almost feels like it's the perfect opportunity for him to like catch up to where he should have been with his absence. Like this is just gonna be great practice for him to like hit August baseball on the right foot because he's gonna get to swing the bat as many times that he needs to
Yeah.
during that home run derby. It's gonna be like warm up home runs for him to just get in the groove of things as the season kicks off into the really like the race to October. I mean,
Yeah. No, he's played in 31 games. He already has 9 homers.
yeah,
He's homering like every third game. He's hitting a homer. Like this
yeah,
is these are close to Shohei stats. Like I'm just gonna right, guys. Remember I did 40-70. I'm gonna do 70-70 this year, and I'll play in 30 less games than anybody else.
yeah,
Like it's just it's crazy. It's
yeah.
absolutely crazy what
The
he's doing.
the Braves needed him, and he's like you
Oh, they
said, he's jumping right
absolutely
in.
needed
He's
him.
jumping
Yes,
right in like he belongs. My next
absolutely.
the next topic. Let's talk MLB team rivalries. Between the last episode and this episode, we had the Dodgers and the Padres square up in their rivalry, and I feel like I lost count on how many players got hit by pitches during that rivalry. At the same time, we just had the Cubs and Cardinals wrap up a game where after the final out, the bench is cleared. So my question to you is, how much does it move the needle for you that these how these rivalries are existing and how they're playing out in this season?
Uh, the needle for rivalries for me uh, uh, ticks up quite a bit. I think it's phenomenal for baseball to have these old school like if we talk about rivalries in football and in NFL. They don't really exist. They exist in college football. They exist in Major League Baseball. Like these
Mhm.
rivalries are real, and and just to have so much uh, hatred packed into a just the tradition of raising your own sons and daughters to hate a team who
You love
wears,
it.
in the words of Jerry Seinfeld, another like another piece of laundry that doesn't look like yours. Like this is it's great. I love it. And what I love best about the rivalry thing though is you mentioned the Cardinals Cubs. The
Yes.
Cardinals are the only one who cleared their benches today. And it was after they lost 3-0. And it
Yep.
was because of a hit by pitch that happened seemingly like I think it was like the inning before. Like it's so it's just it was just one of those things that's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you getting all hot and bothered? You lost. Just go in your just go in the clubhouse and just clean out. But
Yeah.
the
It seemed
Dodgers and Padres, man, that was fun. That
that
was a
wasn't fun.
lot of fun. That reminded me of old school. That reminded me of remember 2 years ago? Was it no, it was last year. Hurricanes and Rangers when they in the conference semis when they had for the like for 5 minutes they had three different fights and eight guys got kicked out. We're
Yes.
we're put in a penalty box.
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of, but in pure baseball form. Like
Yeah.
just every other inning, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you. And
Yeah.
then was it Machado saying, "Oh well, they better pray he's hurt. They better pray he's hurt because I'm coming." So it's delightful. I absolutely love it.
It's yeah. It's it's almost to a certain degree. It's a little concerning, only because like you can really mess somebody up when you're throwing 100 mile per hour pitch at somebody's body and you just hit the wrong spot and they're done. And
Yeah,
part of that, I'm sure they hold back when the intentions are to hit them. I feel like they probably hold back. They don't throw full speed to kill a man, but standing at that plate when you're in the middle of a rivalry, knowing that that pitcher, if he doesn't like you, he can come for your head in a
yeah,
split second and you can really do nothing about it. That part I'm a little bit weary of, but I do have to like the fact that like you said, you just hate another team. Just the root of the hate when it comes to these rivalries almost doesn't make sense to me because you guys are all just you're in an entertainment world where you're just lining the pockets of billionaires with more money and like they've like planted this seed of well you're supposed to hate those guys and all the players are like all right like put your head down, we're gonna hate these guys and we're gonna brawl out with them for no reason whatsoever.
you know. Some people have prime rib on Christmas. Some people do Black Friday shopping. I'm raising my kids to hate other people based on the color of their jersey. That's it. Yeah.
I have two more for you. I have two more for you, JB. All right. The Cattell Marte saga that happened in the last
Yeah.
2 3 days, where a fan was heckling Cattell Marte about his deceased mother to the point where he started pretty much crying on the
Yeah.
mound,
Hmm.
and then the fan got banned from every stadium for
Hmm.
life. How, from 1 to 10, like, is it a big deal to you? Like, is there significance to that? Do you think it's a little bit like over blown out of proportion? How do you feel about that?
No, this is a 10 for me. This has a lot of significance because um, while I just joked how I'm raising my kids to hate players based on the colored jersey that they have.
Yeah,
Just hate what they stand for because they play for the Cardinals. They're awful people. Um, but I would never go as far as to tell my kids or raise my kids in a way that, hey, we pay for this ticket so we can say or do whatever we want to these players. No,
yeah,
no. Just because you bought a ticket does not mean you have the right to say whatever foul thing you want to say.
yeah.
And especially something, you never bring up a guy's wife, you never bring up a guy's mother, and
Mm-mm.
you never bring up a guy's sister. Those are
Or
that's
kids,
it. You can bring up anybody. Well, yeah, and your kids, but like you you don't talk about that stuff. You
right?
don't.
Especially
And
when the mother's deceased. Like, that was just,
yeah, I mean, like, look, yeah, his mom died 8 years ago. Yeah, it's still fresh. Yeah, it still hurts. It sucks to lose your
hmm,
mom. Yeah, it's
yeah,
awful. And hopefully I got a long time before I have to experience that. But but just because you bought a ticket doesn't give you the right to say what you want. Just because you bought a ticket doesn't give you the right to try to rip off the glove from a major league right fielder
hmm,
because you're trying to get the ball out of there.
yeah,
You know, there is a line. This is the same level of just disgusting as it is a man who pays a membership for a gym and he decides, well, I paid a membership so I can take my shirt off here. I can pose. No, the rules are you keep your shirt on. Okay. And the rules when you go to a ballpark are, yeah, you can talk. There's a difference between talking trash and being a trashy person. Those are, there's a, that is, it's not
hmm.
even a fine line. It is,
No, it's a pretty
it
wide
is
line. You don't cross it.
it's a very wide line. And so you can talk, I talk trash all the time. I'm not a trashy person. I'm not doing that. So it's a very
Yeah,
big
it's
deal. I'm glad that he was banned. He needs to be banned.
hmm,
And he'll only be banned for a lifetime because, according to
just
Rob
one.
Manfred, after he's dead, he can come back to a baseball game because he's no longer alive. Um, but I don't think he was banned for life. I think he was temporarily banned.
It should be
He's,
for like, I don't
he's
know. He was
yeah.
banned from all stadiums.
He was
I
banned
mean,
from all stadiums, I think,
yeah,
temporarily.
it should be for life, unless you come out and apologize and repent for being a effed up human being. You don't get to
Yeah.
participate in things that you
Hmm.
have free liberty to act like an animal. I have
Hmm.
okay, I have actually two more for you. One quick
Okay.
one. Barry Bonds showed up to a Cubs game for the first time.
I
No,
mean, Sammy
Sammy
Sosa?
Sosa. Sammy
Yeah.
Sosa showed up for a Cubs game.
Who the
Sorry,
hell cares if Barry
I had
Bonds
my
showed
other
up?
I
Huh?
had my other storyline ready on my brain. Sammy Sosa showed up to a Cubs game
Mhm.
for the first time in really ever.
It was 20 years.
Yeah. How do you feel about him just showing up to a game like a fan, no attention, no accolades, no nothing about? He just showed up and watched the game.
I mean, he had attention. I mean, I was watching the pregame stuff, and everyone knew he was there.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't like, oh, hey, like he's
Yeah.
here.
No, I think it's great. And I was, I was in the very pivotal years, the formidable years of my youth when I was a Cubs fan, and I was a fan of the Cubs before Sosa got there,
Yeah.
and then Sosa shows up, and then of course we all know the summer of '98, most magical season in baseball history. Him and McGuire going pound for pound, just absolutely incredible stuff. Um, yeah, the mere fact that it took this long is such a shame, because it's okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously he took steroids because he was stealing 40 bases, and then all of a sudden he didn't run at all. So it's like something happened, um, and so
Little bit.
I think it's absolutely great that he showed up. I think it's great for him to be a part of that. I would love to see a game where him and Grace and Dunston and Sandberg, uh, Derek Lee, Aramis Ramirez, uh, they're all there again, and just celebrating just all the past Cubs, because I had some pretty what was it? Some pretty heavy opinions about Sosa when I was growing up. I thought he was a little bit selfish, but he was still great for the team. He was great for the city of Chicago. He was great for baseball. I don't
Yeah.
care if he took steroids or not. I don't care. Okay, him and McGuire single handedly put baseball back on the map. They saved it after that atrocious strike in '94. People loved baseball again because of it, and it was fun to see. So I'm glad he's back at Wrigley. I'm glad he was welcomed back with open arms. That's the way it should be.
And lastly, the last storyline to do our weekly check-in on Cal Riley. Our Cal Riley check-in at on box scores and bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
How much from 1 to 10 do you care that he has 32 home runs currently and Barry Bonds holds the record with 39 home runs before the All-Star break for the most home runs before the All-Star break?
I think it's fantastic. Do I? Because I, if anyone has seen Cal Raleigh, his name is not Big Dumper because of the steroids he's dumping in him. Okay, um,
He's a
it
big
is
man.
it is Big Dumper for a very very different reason, um, and so uh, I think it's great for baseball. And um, it's it's one of those stories that, like, I think doesn't get enough attention, because and I think there's some people in baseball who are trying to bury the lead with Cal Raleigh because they don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation of, what if he continues on this pace? What if he continues on this pace throughout the whole season? Is he the AL MVP?
Yeah.
Is he the MVP of the American League?
I think
And
I think not only that, but the fact that he's a catcher adds like a certain level of like not excitement, and no disrespect to catchers, but to me, I feel like the general view on catchers is like, well, they're like almost like the field goal kickers in the NFL. Like they matter when they matter, but like we don't really
Mhm.
like pay that much attention to them. And for him to be doing what he's doing, I think it just makes a hard story to write for a catcher to be, a, a home run bomber for the
Yeah.
MLB.
Yeah. Well, this is just like what in the '60s, the '50s and '60s and '70s. It was like catchers won it every other year. You
Yeah.
had Yogi Berra, you had Roy Campanella, you had Johnny Bench. Like it wasn't uncommon for a catcher to win the MVP. And then after Thurman Munson won it in 1976. After 1976, how long do you think it took for another catcher to win MVP?
Oh
How long?
God. Probably the early 2000s.
It was '99. It was Pudge.
Okay. Oh,
And then
okay.
another 10 years before another catcher won it, and that was Joe Mauer, who was the last AL player to win MVP as a catcher. The last catcher to win it at all was 13 years ago, and that
Yep.
is the now president of baseball operations for San Francisco Giants, Buster
Yep.
Posey.
Yep.
So it's look, I honestly think like if you play catcher and look, he's not DHing. He's
No.
catching.
Yeah.
He's caught 62 games. 62. 62 games, and that's not easy. He's on pace to catch over 130 games this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 162 game season before the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
If Seattle somehow makes the playoffs, he's catching 20 to 30 more games. So, like, it is the most difficult position to play. And right now, even his underlying metrics, his batting average with balls in play is 278. It's 278. That is not something that screams pure luck. He's hitting 275. He's got 32 jacks. Hell, he's got 9 stolen bases. He can probably become the next Acuna. Who knows? So look, he is for real.
Yeah.
This is sustained. We are at the end of June. He's still doing this, and he
Mm-hmm.
keeps hitting at a higher and higher clip every time we turn around and look. And he's still jacking bombs. So, I mean, all more proud of Cal Raleigh. If this continues, there needs to be real conversation, and it's starting to happen now. I seen an article in the Athletic. It's starting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Cal Raleigh, is he really going to be considered for AL MVP? Because he absolutely should be, because of the fact that not only is what he's doing, but he is because of where he plays defensively. He's a catcher. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to get back to the place where the time in baseball where catchers, yeah, they're not going to hit for the highest average. They're probably not going to hit the most bombs, but but by God, like catchers are so freaking important.
They
They're
are.
so important. And
They're
to
they really are the generals for the
they are.
defense.
They are. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Like the wily veterans on the team are catchers. Like I said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, and these are your captains. These
Yeah.
are your captains. So this is if he continues on this pace, if we get to August and he's still doing this, we have to have a real conversation.
Are we gonna put him on officially on this episode? Are we putting him on record watch? The record for most home runs in a season by a catcher was set in 2021 by Salvador Perez with
Yep.
48. 32 he has currently. Are we putting him on catcher record watch?
I'm putting him on 60 homer watch.
Wow. That's a whole different record.
I'm putting him at 60 homers. 60 homer watch is what I'm putting him on.
So obliterating the catcher record, resetting, making it an obtainable record for the next 30 years for a catcher to hit that many home runs.
Barring an injury, he's gonna break 48. He's gonna.
Okay. You heard it here first. The catcher home run record will get reset by Big Dumper in the 2025 season.
And if he becomes the first catcher ever to have the 60 clip mark, he's absolutely should be the MVP of the league. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, 60 home runs is not like
it's hard enough to hit 60 bombs, but to do it as a catcher?
60 bombs is not. It's not like a small feat. Like Aaron Judge,
not at all.
Aaron Judge won MVP because he hit over 60 home runs. Like it's not a small feat to accomplish. It would well be deserved.
And if we're gonna all rise for Aaron Judge, you know who says all rise for the judge? The bailiff, and that's Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh looks like the bailiff.
Yeah, he does.
To Aaron Judge's courtroom.
All right, that is all my storylines for you this week, JB.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to end. Manny, what were you drinking today?
I popped open a new bottle from my birthday stash. A Russell's Reserve, 10 years aged, 90 proof.
That's the one I got you.
Yes, this is the one you got me. It's really good. I didn't really expect it. I didn't expect it to be as smoky as it's not like overwhelmingly smoky, but it has a good taste of smokiness to it. I really enjoyed it. It was neat. Well,
Mhm.
me on some non-diluting blocks of ice, but it was really smooth to drink. What were you drinking?
Yeah. I was drinking, I had it displayed, this Macallan 12 year, a scotch, which I got at the Class 6 for $53. This retails for 91 at most places.
Dang.
So I was like,
And
heck
it looks like
yeah.
you already made a significant dent in that.
I've had it for a week now. So I've had it for a couple hours. So yeah, it's going now.
And
And
you're
then I
smoke.
was smoking a Mayflower Dusk. It's very,
Nice.
very mooey mooey tasty.
Very good. Well, that will do it. Thank you for everyone that continues to jump into our episodes. You can continue to participate in the conversation. We have had a lot of interesting takes on our TikTok posts.
Yeah, people do
JB,
not like my Shohei as a closer take. They do not like it
no,
at all.
no, they did not. They really did not like your take. Tell everybody where they can contribute to our conversation, though.
You can catch us full episodes, video, audio, box scores and bourbon on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Additional content on X, Insta, and TikTok at BSB Sports 24. And until next time, folks, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone.